just know that life, the human experience, is a series of peaks and valleys. You are going to have more peaks and valleys. Now, hopefully, as you get healthier emotionally, those peaks and valleys will go from an EKG monitor graph, right, with strong, steep peaks and valleys to more of a sine curve where it's softer ups, softer downs. So rather than huge mountain peaks and huge cliffs and valleys, it'll look more like hopefully rolling hills. You know what I mean? So emotionally, where emotionally you don't have the extremes that you have had in the past, that over time you continue to be consistent with your emotional fitness program and adopt these exercises as part of your regular life, you will begin to find that your peaks and valleys will hopefully smooth out over time and become more emotionally stable, emotionally predictable, which benefits. There's so many different consequences, positive consequences and benefits for yourself and for others. What is going on, super duper EQ gangsters? Excited to share a recent breakthrough and revelation that I've had while doing one of my corporate clients, corporate coaching clients. And one of my most recent sessions with one of the guys that I'm working with. And here's well, first of all, again, thank you guys for, if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, if you're listening to our podcast, thank you so much for all your support. For those of y'all that have checked out some of the podcast interviews that I've been able to be on recently, I've posted some of those on my Facebook page. It's been a blessing. Thank you guys so much for your comments, your support, liking, sharing, subscribing, commenting, reviewing, rating our podcast. Thank you guys so much. Absolutely appreciate it. And I want to just share again just a recent breakthrough that I've had while coaching this one of my clients. He basically was emotionally hijacked, had been emotionally triggered, emotionally hijacked, which ironically enough, I was also recently emotionally hijacked literally 2 days ago. And that's one of the lessons, is that just because, again, I've been on this journey now for 3 or 4 years, does not mean that I no longer experience emotions or have mastered my emotions. Man, I'm still very, very much in the beginning, kind of phase of my journey. Now I'm 4 years into the journey, but still feel very new and fresh along this emotional growth journey, which is something to remember and keep in mind and keep in perspective. Even when you develop this emotional fitness journey, there are many layers and levels and phases of this emotional fitness journey that you're going to be going through. And as I've said in recent episodes, sometimes it feels like 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. And it just so happened again that I was completely emotionally hijacked 2 days ago. And right around that time frame, I can't remember if it was before. No, I had just come out of that emotional hijacking, and then I had this coaching appointment with this gentleman who was emotionally hijacked and literally kind of feeling like his world was falling apart. Completely emotionally hijacked, completely emotionally triggered. And sometimes it happens bam in an instant, sometimes it happens progressively. And in both of those scenarios, many people are not even aware that it's happening. And I say many people, I have been that person for, again, 99% of my life. And even still, when I get emotionally hijacked, emotionally triggered, I am not always aware that it's happening. Sometimes I am, and that's even only because I've been working on it the past 3 to 4 years. But in some cases, I'm not even aware that it has already happened and I am already emotionally hijacked. So I just come out of this being emotionally hijacked. This gentleman had gradually been, and you could even argue, I mean, yeah, you could argue that it's been happening since, like for the rest of us, since our childhood. And also, like most of us, we have not been trained on how to be self-aware and or self-manage our emotions. And so emotional injury after emotional injury, right, builds up, that cute, furry, fuzzy, emotional monkey after days and days, weeks and weeks, months and months, years and years, decades and decades of emotional injuries, compounding, feeding that cute, furry, fuzzy little emotional monkey is now an 800-pound emotional gorilla that you can no longer control or do the 4 deadly sins of emotions that I did a previous episode on: stuffing, avoiding, stewing, and brooding. You do that over years and years and years. At some point, that emotional gorilla is going to be bigger and stronger than your ability to manage or control or stuff, avoid, stew, and brood, lock that emotional gorilla, 800-pound emotional gorilla in the basement anymore. At some point, that emotional gorilla is going to come out somewhere in your life in some form of unproductive, unhealthy behavior. And this was happening. He's a leader, very successful leader, been a successful leader for probably 15, 20 years. And he had gotten to a point where literally the past couple weeks, like the wheels are starting to come off, where so much so that some of his colleagues had even mentioned, hey, dude, you don't seem like yourself. Like, what, you all right? Everything fine? And like most of us, yes, I'm fine. No big deal. Don't sweat it. Just leave me alone. That was my kind of thing. Hey, just leave me alone. I'm fine. Don't sweat it. And it had literally come to a head the kind of the day of our appointment. And so I had him do some homework exercises. The first thing I had him do was, in the moment, I said, and literally it was like picking a scab. I said, how are you feeling right now? Like, okay, I know we've got this agenda. We've got all these things we want to go through and work through, talk about. I said, I'm throwing that out the window. I can tell you are feeling some big things right now, and I want to hear it. Let it out. What's going on? Boom, got emotional. And for many folks, that can be very uncomfortable, feeling the intensity of the in the moment real-time emotions that are going on. And I said, let it out. I'm safe. We've got a good relationship and you can trust me. I'm safe. Like, if there's anybody that you can cry in front of and that wants you to cry in front of me, it is me. Like, I'm like, this is what I'm here for, to help you work through these emotions. And so he let it out. And I said, good, man, keep going, keep letting it out. This is good. And once he kind of let the intensity of all those emotions that have been pent up out, and he was kind of ready to talk again, and I just sat there with him, like, just let it go, man. Let it go. Let it come out. Don't try to hold it back. Don't try to be, judging yourself and, oh, I shouldn't. No. Stop all that. Just stop. Just be in the moment and let those emotions out. So boom, let it out. And once he could talk, I said, okay, tell me, what are you feeling? How are you feeling? And I said, just vomit some words. His emotional vocabulary, he has some emotional vocabulary, but not very much. Again, just like me. Well, actually, he's probably further along than me, because I knew like 4 or 5 emotion words 4 or 5 years ago. Happy, sad, mad, and angry was about literally the extent of my emotion words, my emotional vocabulary. So he had a few more in his arsenal than me, but still, again, very much on the kind of early side of his emotional vocabulary, beginner side of his emotional vocabulary. I said, so just vomit out. Just give me some words. Don't try to do fancy. Just give me what words are coming to your mind right now. He overwhelmed, kind of loss of control, hopeless, helpless, doubting myself, don't feel like I'm doing enough, feel like I'm letting people down. And this gentleman also, again, another great relatability factor, is a people pleaser addict, like I have been for, again, most of my life. So I've got lots of relatability and connection with this guy because, again, I was him 4 years ago. And so, boom, so he let it out. We talked about, okay, now why? What? And then I said this, what are the areas that are causing you stress right now? If you had to name the big rocks, the big stress sources right now in your life, what are they? And he rattled off 3 primary. When you boil it all down, it boiled down into 3 different areas, 3 primary stress areas that were causing, these 3 areas were causing 99% of the stress. And so I said, okay, look, this is what I want you to do. This is your homework this weekend. I want to share this with you guys because I think this is going to be a game changer for some of you all if you implement and apply this exercise. So this is the exercise I gave him. And I will tell you, let me give you the spoiler alert. So we had a conversation on Friday. 2 days later, we talked on Monday morning. He was a different man. I'm not blowing smoke. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm telling you, this was a different dude than I talked to on Friday. Happy, cheery, light. And I'm like, bro, what? Wow. You like, how are you feeling right now? I'm getting some super different vibes than we just had on Friday. I said, how are you feeling? And I said, just give me words. Just throw it out there. It doesn't have to be fancy. Just give me some words. What comes to your mind? He said, excited, hopeful, looking forward to the future, lighter. He said, between our Friday session and the exercises you had me do over the weekend, he said, I feel completely different. I feel like I can handle whatever's thrown at me. And you know, as a coach, I'll be honest with you, man, full transparency, I was doing cheetah flips inside. I was so excited. That's the goal, is life transformation. Now he has emotional tools to handle. And I said, now look, I love that how well you're doing. In fact, we spent a lot of time on that because I want to make that improvement and that delta that he did from Friday to Monday a huge deal for him, a huge emotional deal for him. I wanted to make the change and transformation that he did a as significant emotional event as was Friday. And I asked him, on a scale of 1 to 10, where were you at Friday? He said, dude, a 1, maybe a -5. I said, how are you doing now? He said, bro, a 9. And so I said, so I'm super affirming and validating and just excited for his growth and transformation literally in 2 days. And so I made that a big deal. And we talked about it. And so I said, look, just know that life, the human experience, is a series of peaks and valleys. You are going to have more peaks and valleys. Now, hopefully, as you get healthier emotionally, those peaks and valleys will go from an EKG monitor graph, right, with strong, steep peaks and valleys, to more of a sine curve where it's softer ups, softer downs. So rather than huge mountain peaks and huge cliffs and valleys, it'll look more like hopefully rolling hills. You know what I mean? So emotionally, where emotionally you don't have the extremes that you have had in the past, that over time you continue to be consistent with your emotional fitness program and adopt these exercises as part of your regular life, you will begin to find that your peaks and valleys will hopefully smooth out over time and become more emotionally stable, emotionally predictable, which benefits. There's so many different consequences, positive consequences and benefits for yourself and for others. This is what I had him do over the weekend. I said a few things. Number one, I want you to break down each of those three major stressors into separate emotional buckets. I want you to, in a journal, 1 page for one bucket. Each bucket has its own page. The first part of that page, of that specific bucket, stressor source number 1, I want you to write down all the emotions that pertain to that stressor source. Then I want you to go to page number 2 and go to stressor source number 2. Write down all the emotions pertaining to that bucket. Then go to stressor source number 3. Write down all the emotions pertaining to stressor source number 3. And here's the deal. And again, don't judge your thoughts. Don't judge what comes out of your brain. Just write it down. Just vomit it. And you guys have heard one of my sessions, one of my episodes a while back. I don't remember the number or the topic, but I talk about the emotional vomit sessions, emotional thought dump sessions, where you're just putting your emotions and stuff on the page. The brain loves organization. The brain is a master filer of millions of bits of data every single day. What causes stress and anxiety is when the brain can't file and organize something. When, if you guys were to look at my laptop home screen right now, I have all these, these documents and stuff unorganized on my laptop, which is not good for the brain, right? The brain does not like open things, open documents that are not in a folder. The brain has to have folders to manage life better, to be more effective at managing life. And I said, so right now on Friday, I said, it felt like to you that it was all one big giant bucket, but it's actually not. It's actually, as we discussed, 3 separate buckets that were causing 99% of all this stress and anxiety. So boom, so do that exercise. That's step 1 of the exercise. Step 2 is, then I want you to get out ahead of some of the emotions that you've been experiencing. So in each of the separate bucket pages, the next section of that page, I want you to get ahead of those emotions and thoughts by writing down how you're feeling in that particular bucket. So in this bucket, so the first section of the exercise of that bucket's page was just a vomit dump of emotions. Here's all the words: overwhelmed, hopeless, helpless, rejected, disappointed, sad, frustrated, angry, whatever the emotions are. And I said, use your emotion wheel, print that emotion wheel out while you're going through these exercises. So step 2, you're getting out ahead by journaling, getting some more intentional thoughts around how you're feeling about each of those different buckets. That's exercise 2. Exercise 3, now I want you, now that your emotional hijack tube, the chemicals that are causing these emotions are starting to subside as you're going through this exercise. As you do that, when you get to step 3, now you are physiologically going to be able to think more clearly. So now when you come up with solutions, don't try to come up with solutions when you're still emotionally hijacked, because you physiologically are not thinking logically or as cognitively as you could and should be, because you're still emotionally hijacked. You've got to get some of these emotions and these chemicals to subside a little bit so that you can start thinking more clearly and coming up with better and more intelligent solutions. And this guy's a brilliant guy. And so I said, with what you do with his particular career field, have you ever found a problem that you can't solve? Right? And then I said, how many problems have you solved over the last 10 or 15 years in what you do? Hundreds of thousands, maybe millions at this point. He's in a role, senior role, where he makes probably 1,000 decisions literally every single day. And I'm not exaggerating, literally probably 1,000 decisions based on what he does. And so I said, so look, you're a brilliant guy. This is not rocket science, but it feels like a 100-side Rubik's Cube when you're emotionally hijacked. But when you're not emotionally hijacked, it's gonna be like a 2-sided, a Rubik's Cube or whatever. You know what I mean? Like a 2-square. I'm not explaining it very well, but hopefully you get what I'm saying. A simple Rubik's Cube, even for a guy like me, when we're thinking clearly and we're not emotionally hijacked. So now you do those solutions, you write all those solutions and come up with 3, 4, 5 different solutions for each one of those areas that is causing stress and anxiety. Well, he did all of those exercises over the weekend, and he made this huge revelation. He's like, Noble, to be honest with you, not a lot physically has changed in each of these 3 stressor sources. But emotionally, I know now that I'm not emotionally hijacked, I can handle all 3 of these. Even though nothing physically has really changed, I still have the same challenges or problems that I did on Friday, but now emotionally I'm not spinning. Right now I can think clearly. I got it now. I can handle this stuff. And it was, guys, again, I can't tell you how excited I was from a coaching perspective to see him literally go from a 1 on Friday to a 9 2 days later, because he applied the exercises that I suggested and recommended. Just like me, I'm being a little bit of a hypocrite now, because the last handful of times that I've been emotionally hijacked, I have not done my own exercises. This stuff that I just got done spending 15, 20 minutes explaining to you guys, I have not done. I'm being a hypocrite. It was a huge conviction to me that this stuff works when you apply it. Noble, right? For me. So anyway, just want to give you guys hopefully some encouragement, grace, patience with yourself along your own emotional growth journey. And I hope you apply this like I am going to get better at doing. Not that I haven't ever done this. Obviously, I have done these exercises before, but I have not made them a habit yet, a muscle memory yet, an SOP yet, standard operating procedure yet in my own life. And that's where I have to get to. And for those of you all, again, that want to be a part of a growing community, supportive, encouraging, safe, trusting environment, community that is all working on our emotional intelligence together, check out eqgangster.com/mafia. eqgangster.com/mafia. And you guys can see, if you're on YouTube, you can see my signs here in the back. I've got EQ Gangster for eqgangster.com, and then the EQ Mafia. That's what our membership group is called, is the EQ Mafia. So that's eqgangster.com/mafia. Please let your friends know. Share the episodes that are helpful for you with your friends. Let them know about the EQ Mafia. And we'd love to have you as part of our community that is working on becoming healthier emotionally, which is impacting not only every area of my life, but it's also impacting the lives of those around us, because emotionally healthy people help heal other people emotionally. Again, that's eqgangster.com/mafia.